Well, we adopted the system quite some time ago. It was in the early 2000s. And at that time, we had a huge number of people using their own private data. We didn't have Exchange at that time, so everybody had their own personal address books. So we had a multitude of databases with contact information in them, no integration between them. We also had an awful lot of software suites which were quite complex to use, but yet we had people who we desperately wanted to get to information within those suites. So we needed something that was going to provide us, if you like, a shop window into all the data that people need to do the job. I think a lot of the basic systems within Windows don't have the disciplines that you need really to control documents and to control information. I think as well that sometimes they're very inflexible, and although clearly Microsoft have got systems that can do an awful lot of the things that we need, it didn't have the flexibility to be able to interface some of our specialist pieces of software that we needed. We went down two routes. First of all, we thought about using just a Microsoft platform and keeping it fairly simple and basically basing it on Exchange and Outlook. The second option that we had at that time was to actually develop our own software. And that was the one that was the top of the list really when we first started looking at how we were going to solve our problems. I think it's flexibility. I think its ability to show and display the information that people need on a day-to-day basis. But the flexibility, I think, is top of the list there because we've been able to adapt it in quite different ways in different areas so that people see what they need to see and are able to carry out the work with a minimum of hunting around. We did try to go down this route and we tried to look, for example, at how much time the average user spends doing the simplest of tasks like trying to find data, trying to find somebody's phone number, trying to raise a variation. And, you know, we had systems in place that largely meant people had to go and hunt and find the contract file and things. And we then turned back to how much time would we actually have to save the average user to be able to pay for the system in 3 years. And the answer came out at something like 10 minutes. We were pretty convinced that the system would actually give that type of return. But I think as well, both the managing director and myself were IT enthusiasts, and to a certain extent we were prepared to take the leap of faith that I think businesses often have to do if they want to improve themselves. Union Square have been a good experience. We deal with a number of other software houses. We've got specialist CAD packages, MIS systems. We get a better service from Union Square than we do from the others. I can't speak highly enough about them. They come to see us every year. We sit down, we spend the day discussing what problems and issues we might have. The user group day is very useful. We keep up to date with all the modern developments and where the software is going. So in that respect, I think they perform pretty well. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution for rolling out a piece of software like this. I think it'll depend on the size of the business. It'll depend on the ability of the user base. I think it'll depend on a number of other issues. But our own personal experience was we tried to roll it out in fairly small steps. So we first of all picked on the part of the business that we're most enthusiastic about using systems like this. We gave them first of all access to inquiries, projects and contacts, and we got enough wins there to really win over the whole of that part of the business. It was then quite an easy task to start rolling it out to other parts of the business because they could see how others had actually been helped by it. And the last thing that we did is we rolled out the DMS because our user base, I think, were probably not quite ready to have the whole thing thrown at them in one go. I appreciate other businesses, it might not be the same.